Good morning, Bucknutters. What is today's date? Today is Tuesday, March 21st, 2023. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change, joined by the lovely and talented Steve Wiltfong, 24/7 Sports Director of Recruiting. And you're right, Shane, we've gone deep into the pocketbook for this visit. Steve, how goes it? I assume you have a perfect bracket.
Yep, absolutely. Good morning, Daniel. I will say this, my 5-year-old nailed Princeton and Furman, and you can vouch for that as I posted that bracket on Facebook.
Yep.
And that was pretty cool. And look, to have him wake up that after that first morning and have my wife tell him he was first place in the exclusive Wiltfong family bracket pool, he was on cloud 9,
That's what you call quality parenting, people. There were no Wiltfong kids in school on Thursday and Friday. The flu went through there quickly last week, thankfully. So the kids got to spend the whole day watching the games. Steve is hard at work, as always. Not a perfect
no
bracket.
No less than all of you.
Yeah. By the way, no perfect brackets. Did you know that? I saw a statistic today. To get a perfect bracket at this point, the number, it's one in – the numbers were like into the quadrillions.
I think Farley Dickinson, and I think I mispronounced that.
It's Fairly
Dickinson missed that up. But you probably, this is way off the rails, but the old Judy Blume books, Super Fudge Mania, Tales of the Fourth Grade Nothing. Like, sure. I remember reading and laughing at those when I was a kid. My second graders reading those books now, and he just kept calling Fairly Dickinson Fudge Dickinson because his name's Farley. So he just kept calling him Fudge Dickinson as they were taking it to Purdue. Obviously a big game in the Hoosier State. And my 5-year-old then had a basketball game at 8 a.m. on Saturday after Purdue lost and Indiana played late. There was not a lot of energy inside that Boys and Girls Club gym for 5-year-old basketball at 8 a.m. With those two games going the way they did.
Steve is, of course, an Indiana native, and my guess is the per capita household NCAA tournament viewing parties in Indiana rank out very high in the United States. It is a hotbed of hoops. I had something else to tell you about that, but we're just going to move on here because we tangentialized most of the show to fill the spot here. All right, now just know this. The guys are at practice right now. Steve, Dave, Pat. Spring practice opens back up today, and it's a beautiful day. Let's just say this. It's a sunny day in Ohio, which we'll take these days. So,
I think we'll be sending rain down I-70 from Indianapolis through Dayton all the way to Columbus later today, though.
It is Ohio in the Midwest. I think it's technically spring.
Second day of spring. These guys want us to do a show, Daniel. We gotta start talking to Air Noland here. We're gonna lose viewers, brother.
Never. Air Noland, we did a little bit on last week, piggybacking on your in-depth feature on him. We're going to talk about him in depth here. He's not been offered yet by Ohio State. He has a very interesting offer list, and we've talked about him a lot. I don't think the lack of an offer is an issue. You were on this show a while back and talked about how he's going to take visits to Clemson and Ohio State, and it's just a matter of them wanting to offer in person. That happened at Clemson. It will happen at Ohio State, I assume. Can you bring us up to speed on Air Noland, maybe what he's like as a guy? This is a War Daddy series you're working on, and everyone has contributed on for 24/7 Sports. I think War Daddy means big-time franchise recruits. Maybe you can define that, and then what you learned from spending some extra time with the dude.
Well, I think that in this recruiting class, Air Noland is one of the more I'm struggling for my words here, Daniel. He is one of the more engaging guys in the class. He has an outstanding personality. You can tell he's a terrific leader. You can tell he's passionate about his craft of playing football and quarterback. And talking to his coach. He's a great teammate, great person, great young man. And he is so outgoing. When he walks into the Woody this weekend, he's going to blow away the Ohio State staff with his infectious personality. He is just that dude when it comes to the energy that he brings to any conversation. And so he's exciting right off the bat. Before you even pop the tape, you're like, man, Prentice Air Noland, I enjoy talking to that dude. And then you turn on the film and he's thrown for over 4,000 yards, 55 touchdowns, winning a state championship, and just plays with a whole heck of a lot of toughness. He's a guy that is easily one of the top quarterbacks in this class. And, Ohio State's bringing him in this weekend. They've invested time in him. Corey Dennis and Ryan Day went down there last time they were on the road. And now he's coming up to campus. I would think they'll offer, but who knows? Those guys are in a much higher pay grade than us. But they're obviously interested in him. They're bringing him in. And I think it'll be a great visit. Ohio State has a lot of the things he's looking for. He already has talked about Coach Day and Coach Dennis and that relationship, and Coach Hartline. He's talked about the offense. Obviously C.J. Stroud's the next first rounder, so the development at the position. And Jelani Thurman's a Buckeye. And so, it's an exciting time. It's an exciting time at Ohio State right now. To recruit quarterbacks. And I think that Air Noland's going to have a great visit. And I think Ohio State's a program that's going to be on the rise in his recruitment, similar to the way Clemson was following his visit offer with them. Now, I know him and his mom had a great time at Arkansas recently. Miami's been all in on him for a while, and he's high on the Hurricanes. Will be back there soon. I think Texas A&M is another program that's very well positioned for Air Noland with their combination of Jimbo Fisher and Bobby Petrino. And he's been there and has really enjoyed his time in College Station. But I think that Ohio State has a chance to rise with a great visit this weekend. And I think they're going to love him. And I think he's going to love Ohio State.
I just saw a comment on here I'm going to ask you about. Do you get the sense from talking to Air Noland that he's got a few schools out among the others? I understand that he's been offered, like you said, Texas A&M. I know that, like you said, there was a Purdue visit on the list. I just kind of think with Ohio. I just kind of think with Ohio State now. If we needed any other marketing, C.J. Stroud looks like it's going to be the first pick in the draft. I just feel like
not fourth.
They're selecting. What's that?
Not fourth to Indianapolis.
You're going to get Anthony Richardson, dude. I think, or Will Levis. Don't you think? Anyway, you'll be set regardless. I just think Ohio State, I almost think we downplay the quarterback recruiting, in that I think if they really want Air Noland, they're going to get him. I may have been spoiled to this point. That's fair. But to me, if they go all in on somebody here, I think the kid would be foolish not to take it based on what he's got in front of him. But that's just me. Okay, I have to bring this up because you were the expert.
I think Ohio State might get the last visit, or one of the last visits here too. I think Air Noland, after this wave of spring visits, will be trying to make his college decision.
Look, the last few quarterbacks, they've basically got a seat at the Heisman Trophy ceremony with different dudes, plus the guarantee of having in the best receivers. I don't understand why you wouldn't come here if you're offered. But anyway, Susan in the house, Doc Zabo. I'm hearing.
She means Jaden Davis.
Jaden Davis, she does? I hope she does.
She's referring to Michigan, right?
Right. So Rayola has not talked to Michigan.
No, she accidentally wrote Rayola, I got to think. And Jaden Davis is definitely trending towards Michigan.
Okay, Rayola, what week is it?
Well,
where's he trending?
Well, he's just coming off a great visit to Georgia, and I think the Bulldogs grabbed some momentum there. He's at Nebraska this weekend, and he's someone that could camp and take officials to these schools as well. So that, that recruitment's tight here.
I could see him going to I think he's going to go to Nebraska. When all said and done, family will win out, but we will see.
think Georgia's.
Who's able? Look at this. I watched a pod
Georgia's
yesterday that talked about Raiola, that team up north. Bad podcast.
Well, then, sorry. Sorry about that. I wouldn't watch that podcast anymore.
Yeah. All right. Nothing. Let's just get this over with. Can you read that from John Arbuckle? What happens with Ohio State and Raiola? That's not on the docket anymore, is it?
Yeah. No, I don't think so. Again, I think you got Georgia, you got USC very much in the thick of that, Nebraska and Oregon. And then Ohio State's recruiting Air Noland. They're kicking tires on Julian Sayin. They've been recruiting Jaden Davis. And they're talking to some other guys behind the scenes that are committed elsewhere. So maybe those names will come to light at some point down the road. And also, they'll be evaluating senior film. And that's where a guy like Keenholz emerged, who signed last year. So
Devin Brown.
Yeah, we don't worry about Ohio State quarterback recruiting around these parts.
It's not. I mean, it's an embarrassment.
It's really about quarterback developing and play calling and scheming, and Ohio State's proven that the guys that they put up in those positions succeed.
In fact, Ohio State schemes so well that the people are trying to use that against Jackson Smith and Jigba in the draft process, that everyone's open and it's just the scheme. I would ask them to go look at the performance of Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, who didn't play for Ohio State this year and seem like they're good receivers.
Well, who's trying to use it against them? Is that just like some
draft crap kind of stuff? Yeah. If you listen to your draft pundits, Jackson has not run a 40, even though he was the fastest player at the combine and the 3-cone and the shuttle. So people are saying he's not a number one guy. He can only play in the slot. We'll see. He's
about as quick a wide receiver as I remember covering coming out of high school. His ability to separate is second to none. And I'm talking like, I'm not exaggerating. He is as quick a wide out as I've covered in 20 years.
We went through this with you. Remember when
his ability to catch the football is off the charts. And so,
but don't you remember we went through this?
The number one
trait coming out, and you were saying how everyone thought he was a glider first time around, and people thought he wasn't trying hard enough. And then you realize, no, he's the most efficient. He's just that smooth that you hadn't seen it before. And we're making the same mistake again. The NFL people, I don't understand. It's like the people who think Justin Fields is a running quarterback. He's not a running quarterback. I don't know what they're doing. Anyway.
It blows me away that there was like a thought that the Bears wouldn't invest into Justin Fields. I mean, what world are we living in?
I don't know.
We're not investing in Justin Fields and want to like think that these guys in college, I'm still a believer in Justin Fields, man.
Why wouldn't you be?
He had terrible skill players around him. I mean, the Bears
the
roster was awful.
To the worst.
And then we're going to say Justin Fields might not be the guy, and you got media talking about that. It just blows me away.
I know.
And
but that's what I'm saying. There's a disconnect.
I'm right. Just saying, just saying.
It doesn't mean you're wrong either, though. But what I'm saying is you watched Justin Fields since he was 16 years old. The idea that someone has access to that information and would be in a professional setup and consider him to be a running quarterback when his junior year he threw 41 touchdown passes and 3 interceptions, 2 of which were blatantly not his fault. That just doesn't make any sense.
Do you know who the second most athletic quarterback was in Justin Fields' recruiting class behind him?
I do. Trevor Lawrence.
No, second most athletic.
Oh, Trevor's pretty athletic now. Emory Jones.
It was Will Levis. Will Levis tested off the charts at the Nike Spark thing. So
here's the thing about Justin Fields, and let's just leave it here. If you take Justin Fields' combine workout and try and match it up when he was there to the other player at the combine that had the most similar workout, it was Evan Ingram, the tight end who just got a second contract. Okay, and you saw it in person. Somehow people have been overwhelmed by his ability to run and think he can't pass. He went from having the best system in college to the worst system in the NFL. I don't understand. It's impressive that people can even be that dumb. That said, I will give credit to those who have moved C.J. Stroud up to the top. I like Bryce Young. I don't want to digress here, but, man, I would be really scared that physically he can't hold up given what I've seen with smaller dudes. Anyway,
I mean,
I
he
got a
took
question.
SEC punishment, so I'm good with either. I like them both a ton. I'd love both of them in Indy or
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson.
Every time you get hit, if you're Bryce Young, though, you're going to have a little, and that's over time. You can't control that over time. Look at Tua. At some point in time, you're going to get crushed. I got a question for you. When they were in high school, who did you like better, Kyle McCord or Devin Brown?
Well, I would say that,
You
obviously
saw them both play plenty of times before they committed.
Yeah. So, I mean, Devin Brown was like a riser, right? That lit up Elite 11 and had a fantastic senior year at a new high school. And, we ranked him in the top 50. I know some other sites had him significantly higher than that. But we had them roughly ranked the same. Like they were both top 50 prospects. So, as I kind of struggle for my words, it's because I really don't have one that I thought was significantly better than the other. I mean, Kyle McCord was kind of a tank in high school. He was a big physical presence. Devin Brown's a guy that was kind of evolving in front of us over the years. Who's going to win that competition?
I would assume Kyle McCord. But
it'd be cool if Kyle McCord did, and then it'd be cool if Devin Brown was the guy after him, and they both accomplish everything that they want to in today's landscape with guys constantly on the move. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I just remember when Quinn Ewers committed to Ohio State, a source told me that the Kyle McCord camp said, we're not worried about anybody behind us. So, he's just there competing, waiting his turn. And so here he is, now if someone behind him passes him on the depth chart, then, maybe it's time to look for an opportunity somewhere else and see if you can flourish elsewhere. But I think the mentality has always been, look, when it's my turn, I'll take the reins and I'll lead this Buckeyes program to what they're, accustomed to.
It doesn't hurt if your high school buddy is also the best receiver in the country. I'm sorry. I think that gives you a little bit of confidence when you sleep at night. When in doubt, throw it to Marv.
When Kyle McCord committed to Ohio State had their pick of the litter.
Yep.
And I'll say, I think at that point, Ohio State led for Drake May. Mm-hmm. They were about to bring Caleb Williams on the campus. They led for J.J. McCarthy.
That's the one.
There's probably some other names that I forget. But there were a couple guys that Ohio State, politely said, hey, we're not ready right now, or however that worked out. But Kyle McCord, when he said, hey, I want to be a Buckeye, they couldn't say no. They liked him that much. And so he's obviously in the program, and, we'll see how it goes this spring camp.
I'm very optimistic that whoever gets in there, obviously, we talked about how Justin Fields was thrown into a siphoning whirlpool. It's the exact opposite when you put the guy in at Ohio State. He's going to have a great offensive line in front of him, relatively speaking, great receivers, the top two, and the coming back, and a second-day tight end in the draft. So very, very optimistic that based on track record and coaching, he'll be in good shape.
Running back room should be really good for y'all this year if you guys stay healthy.
Yep.
So all the Tony
way better than last year. Healthy being the key.
Let's remember the guys that Tony Alford recruited into this room, and let's watch them run this fall.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't even seen Evan Pryor. You know what I'm saying? Guys like that who are waiting to get their shot and really have a chance to be special. I want to talk about one other guy. So there's a new rankings coming out for 24/7 Sports later on today. A lot of interesting stuff. One guy who is in your neck of the woods and I'm starting to feel like may actually be enrolled already is Milan Graham, wide receiver out of Indiana. I think he's going to be the highest rated receiver in the Midwest. If not, he'll be very close to that. So, shocker. Who's on him? Big time. Brian Hartline. And I obviously assume anybody who can drive to Ohio State rather than have to fly to Florida or out west is going to come to Ohio State with an offer. But your thoughts on Milan Graham, when he's coming back to campus, kind of that, could he be an earlier commitment?
Well, he was recently back at Ohio State, and I know the dean, Bill Kurlick, caught up with his coach after that. I talked with Milan last week. I still haven't posted the article yet, so I need to do that today. But he had an amazing return to Ohio State and had a great conversation with Coach Hartline and Coach Day about his potential at Ohio State. And he said that opened his eyes up. This is a program that Ohio State was first to offer Milan Graham in camp. And so with that, the crystal ball has been on Ohio State for virtually this young man's entire process. But Purdue has made this thing interesting here under Coach Ryan Walters and Coach Corey Patterson and the new staff, that I think that the latest visit to Ohio State was kind of like a reminder of like, you've been so high on Ohio State for a lot of reasons. Because look, this new Purdue staff, they're going to do a good job on the trail. And so it'll be exciting to see what they do in West Lafayette to kind of build on what Coach Brahm and company left them. But I don't see them winning this recruiting battle right now for Milan Graham. I like the Buckeyes as it stands now. I think he could make a decision this spring. So we'll see what happens there.
Can you describe him a little bit? What kind of receiver is he? Height, speed, weight kind of guy?
Well, he's an outstanding route runner with elite ball skills. He's a guy that can separate. He's very smooth. And we know that not only did he earn an offer at Ohio State's camp, but he did the same at Alabama's camp. So he's a guy that's been a performer. But the Ohio State camp, we talked about it on a recent Bucknuts, is just very impressive because I guarantee when he walked in the building, Brian Hartline, if he knew who he was, he didn't know much because he hadn't even watched the young man's film yet. So when he offered him at camp, it was like, dude, you tore this camp up and we're offering you a scholarship because you earned it on the field today. But I still don't know if your film's any good or not. I think it was probably like, I suspect it's good because you were good here. But like, I
like the eye test though.
Ohio State's going to dot I's and cross T's though, man. I mean, like they have camps to validate the film, not the other way around. Right. You know what I'm saying? So it's always like funny to me when people talk about camps and combines and how they don't mean anything. And it's like such a cliche that gets like 1 million likes on Twitter. But
they matter. Everything matters.
College programs have camps for a reason, and they go on the road to scout prospects for a reason. And NFL teams do that too. Like you can learn a lot from a player in a camp, but it still starts with the foundation of the film and what you do in games. But in high school film can lie because you don't know the level of competition the young man's playing against, particularly who he's lining up against. Now, college film, it's harder to lie because it's grown men competing on the field. So it's easier to be like, all right, this dude plays in the Big Ten, this dude plays in the right. So NFL programs can pour over the film, and it can even be more of the study. Even though they're still coming to pro days, they're still coming into buildings and scouting and going to practice and watching all that. For high school scouting, it still starts with the film, but you need a lot more. And I would say for colleges too, you need a lot more context than just the film because, it's not as evenly matched for the Division I dudes on Friday nights as it is for the NFL dudes on Saturdays. They still are competing against grown-ups and men and big bodies and things of that nature.
Well, there's no question when you get in these camp settings, there's also a little bit about that, alpha vibe. And so you get 5 guys in a room, you want the guy who's walking to the front first. I'll tell you what, if you go to, this was back in the day, obviously, but I once went to one of those camps and Mike Vrabel was running the kind of the collection of dudes, and he is talking with every guy in line. He's telling this guy doesn't want to come back to the front, and he's challenging him to do it there. And it's one thing to do it on Friday nights when it's set up for you and you know what you're doing. But like you said, you get into these camps and it's a real competition. They can do a little more apples to apples, and we'll go from there. All right. We appreciate the great Steve Wiltfong stopping by. Keep in mind, there were many visitors from Modern Day over the weekend. Bill has tons of stuff on that. We have the guys at practice today. So let's hope everyone comes back from break and stays healthy. We appreciate Steve stopping by. Have a good one, Bucknutters.
See you on the front row.